Much like we showed you in the peppers, we're putting up a windscreen around our newly planted shade garden also. The reason's a little different. We're not so concerned about pollination here, but with these new tender plants that are just trying to develop a good root system, they can't take the hot drying winds. You could water them, but there's not enough root mass down in that soil to compensate for all that top growth they're trying to support. So we're trying to block the wind with this windscreen or windbreak, and it will extend around this pine tree and should block our predominantly southwest winds all summer. Now, another thing you can do with shade cloth such as this is actually use it to shade plants. If you have an isolated landscape plant you've put in that you want to baby through the summer, get a large tomato cage and wrap it in the shade cloth and put that over the plant. Paul Mitchell tells an interesting story of a woman in Tulsa who grew a Carolina hemlock tree, and those trees are very sensitive to hot, dry conditions. Well, the first 3 years of the life of that tree, she took a kitchen chair and set it over the young tree through the summertime, and it made it through, and today it's a very tall, healthy tree. So there are a lot of ways that you can get plants through those first couple summers here to get them acclimated. And something else we've done to help these landscape plants is to put down a piece of what some people call leaky hose. It's a soaker hose made out of recycled tires, and I have it on high pressure. Normally you don't have to have it going this strong. All it needs to do is just drip. But if you need a misting effect, you could turn up the water pressure. As you can see, it's nicely misting these plants. It'll help keep them cool through the summertime. Now, a few weeks ago we showed you this area. We were laying down landscape fabric and then mulch on top to keep the weeds down. Our one last step was to put in some drip irrigation to soak through, keep those roots moist, and then to put up the windscreen so the plants would do well here. Now, if you have newly planted landscape plants, you may be looking at them and wondering how much babying they'll need the next couple years. Well, think about the origins of those plants. If the species you've put in your yard originated in a cool, moist climate, or the further they are from a typical Oklahoma climate, the more babying they're going to need. So keep that in mind. Or if you've planted things in your yard in an area that you've since found out is not the best adaptation. An example would be Japanese holly out in full sun. You can shade it this summer, get it through, and then possibly transplant it next winter. Well, good gardening, and thank you for joining us today on Oklahoma Gardening.